Angel, do you know where you put the Bony camera? I gotta shoot a video for Nabi. Hey, what's that?
What's what?
That, on the TV screen. I thought you hated watching people play video games.
This isn't video games. Well, not exactly, I'm watching Machinima.
Machinima? What's that?
Machinimas are films, similar to movies or TV. They generally have a narrative structure with a scripted story to tell. The only difference is they use in-game footage from video games and its players as the actors.
I don't get it. That sounds ridiculous.
Wow, you're thick. Alright, come with me.
Oh, costumes. Really? This feels so tacky. And why is there a TV here? This wasn't here last week.
It's for the viewers at home to follow along.
Viewers?
Just shut up and follow the teleprompter.
Oh. Okay.
Our presentation today will explain the art form of machinima.
Over the next 15 minutes, we'll be explaining its historical roots, its purpose, its pros and cons, and we'll be showing an example of a popular machinima.
Machinima's origins are very similar to the origins of other internet-based fan cultures such as vidding, AMVs, and remixing. This is because machinima too began as and continues to be a form of fan culture. Coined in 1996, the term machinima is a portmanteau combining machine and animation. Much like these other forms of fan cultures, its creation and rising popularity became only possible through new computing technologies and Web 1.0.
Throughout the 90s and early 2000s, video editing and 3D animation software were widely inaccessible to common people. One would need an expensive computer, equally costly computer software, and the time and money to afford schooling that taught the use of such tools. 3D animation was primarily left to the big dogs for movie production companies. However, as video games became more mainstream, members of their fandoms began exchanging videos of personal gameplay on forums more frequently, resulting in them acquiring their own fans as well.
In its formative years, growing closer to the 2000s, video editing software became more accessible to the common people. With the combination of technologies in both gaming and editing, users could experiment with applying narratives to their personal gameplay.
Among these experimentations came the ability for characters to perform motor functions through the use of in-game movement controls. This may sound basic, but it's the most important skill in a machinimator's toolbox. This is footage of the first machinima ever created, called Diary of a Camper. It's a short, humorous video depicting the gaming concept of a camper. We watch the main character stand in front of the teleporter, waiting to ambush incoming enemies at an unfair advantage. Notice how instead of watching gameplay from the player's perspective, we're watching through a detached camera.
Since this is a staged event, the other players are considered actors as they move the characters live with the rest of the scene. The basic purpose of machinima is to create cinematic videos of short runtime to maintain an ongoing audience over time. Machinima is characterized by its lack of pre-established guidelines, which means there are no restrictions on story, game type, or visual aesthetics. This also means that players can cheaply create narratives of genres typically expensive to produce in the filmic medium, such as action, fantasy, or sci-fi.
Although there are no rules in the world of machinima, there are some general popularities in its form. The common genres of a machinima are action, comedy, and drama. By manipulating already created assets and game rules, there's only so much left to tamper with. Character movements are often limited and robotic, which makes certain genres harder to imitate. Think of these restrictions as the cost of filming computer graphics without the use of any 3D animators.
The second purpose of machinima is for its non-mainstream fan culture, featuring narratives relatable and relevant to gamers, often attracting fans of specific games.
Now that you know the purposes of the machinima, I think it's time we learn how to make one.
Step number 1. Choose a video game. Play it until you're sick of playing it normally. At this point, you'll know all the tricks of movement, items, and maps. These are all essential skills needed to write your script.
Step number 2. Purchase a capture card or download a screen recording program and install a video editing software.
Step number 3. Write a script. Remember, it might be helpful to write a story relevant to other fans of the game.
Step number 4. Find actors. Gather some close friends that also play the game so they can act in your movie. If you don't have any friends, fret not. You're playing an online game. Go make some.
Step 5. Act out and record your script. Be prepared for a bumpy road. You and your actors are amateurs, and scenes won't always go as planned. But with everyone working together and nobody having jobs, we're sure it'll turn out great.
Step 6. Edit your footage. Remove audio of anyone heavily breathing into their microphone. In fact, you should have just muted them in the first place.
Step 7. Post online. Upload your content onto YouTube and hope the algorithms promote your video. Pray you don't receive any copyright strikes or takedown notices within the next 48 hours.
And with that, congratulations, you're now a Machinimator.
To recap briefly, machinimas are an affordable hobby to learn with essentially no production or distribution costs. As established, normally expensive genres created in film are cheaply producible in machinima. Furthermore, machinimas can be created anywhere. You can work with group members in entirely different geographical locations as long as you all have an internet connection. In terms of feedback, videos receive fast response, which allows producers to make changes to their next release accordingly. Machinima is most beneficial to new and aspiring creators because of the unique learning experience they provide. In testimonials, creators explain that through methods of creation, creators are closely tied to all roles of filmmaking, from writing to acting, lighting, mise-en-scène, improv, and editing. The nature of creating a machinima brings its contributors through all methods of production, effectively teaching new creators how to be creative. Though, as you'd expect, a film medium created by pre-existing content is daunted by some pretty critical concerns. The main problem for machinima is fair use policies and copyright, threatening the small-time creator. Ever since the coming of Web 2.0 and normalized monetization for individual creators, most users would receive copyright strikes or demonetization from developers of the game they were using. Creators needed to be represented under a larger entity to be protected from unfair takedowns. This is where the network under the same name Machinima comes in.
The medium became commonplace for studios to prey on younger creators trying to legitimize their work with confusing and damaging contracts. The most notable studio under the same name, Machinima, founded in 2000, was the hub for nearly all popular Machinima creations. Some of the best series, including Sanity Not Included, Super Best Friends Play, and Christopher Walken Through, were all home to the Machinima website and channel. Once YouTube soared to dominance for online video, the company moved its content there and acted as a professional studio that would contract individual creators. With personal accounts being flagged and taken down for copyright for using gaming footage, the need to film under a studio that would protect their work rose. And with Machinima already being a leading name and their staff having heavy ties with the gaming industry, they were the obvious choice for many. Creators would work day in and day out for a partnership with Machinima. This is evident by an entire catalog of guides promising the steps to getting noticed for a Machinima partnership. Back in the day, signing a contract with Machinima meant life was smooth sailing. You could now make money from your videos without worry of takedowns or copyright strikes onto a channel with over 12 million subscribers. And at what cost? Well, probably half your earnings. Over the 2010s, many creators came out against the company, all with strikingly similar accusations. They were promised talent agents that never existed, contracts would be extended without creators' knowledge, and partners were subjected to outrageously high commission fees. Machinima was eventually purchased by Warner Bros. In 2016, and by 2019, the company removed all of its videos, released all of their contracts, and removed all of their content from their website and YouTube channel. 20 years of Machinima was lost overnight, and only a small fraction of its content out of the thousands of videos have been archived due to no warning being given prior to their removal. This is without a doubt the biggest blow to the popularity of the medium, and it only happened somewhat recently. As a result, Machinima today has lost much of the fan culture it once had. Hey Angel,
Yeah?
you ever wonder why we're here?
Well, if you were reading the teleprompter, you know we're here to watch the very first episode of the most successful Machinima web series, Red vs. Blue.
No. I mean, here, in this exact location. I see gafting tape on the ground. Doesn't that mean actors are supposed to be here?
Oh shoot, you're right. Quick, move! Okay, shh, they're about to start.
Hey, yeah? You ever wonder why we're here? It's one of life's great mysteries, isn't it? Why are we here? I mean, are we the product of some cosmic coincidence, or is there really a God watching everything, with a plan for us and stuff? I don't know, man, but it keeps me up at night.
What? I mean, why are we out here, in this canyon?
Oh, yeah.
What all this stuff about God?
Nothing.
You want to talk about it?
No.
Sure.
The very first episode of the Machinima series, Red vs. Blue, aired on April 1st, 2003 by Rooster Teeth, an appropriate date for a show which gained popularity for its comedic timing among other qualities. The show was made by these guys, who mixed voiceovers with gameplay of the first Halo game. It was all made possible because of a glitch they found while playing, which made characters hold their guns significantly lower, but still appearing to look forward when the player was actually looking down in their own perspective. The creative juices really started flowing when they realized they could film through certain weapon scopes which allowed for a simulated camera. Red vs. Blue was originally shot as a concept trailer only, but it was recognized as something new and exciting for PC Gaming World magazine. The group was approached and agreed to a deal to create an official first episode to coincide with the advertisements in the magazine, and it became a success with the help of recognition by older geek websites Penny Arcade, Fark, and Sadshot. The show was also praised by Bungie, the developers of the game, creating a close relationship that would allow them to continue working without worry of copyright issues. They continued to follow up this initial success with major technical innovations each season to keep fans engaged as the medium matured. As mentioned earlier, machinimators need to be masters of their game to create successful videos. In this clip, we see an example of Bernie Burns' mastery and creativity to work through a particular issue of the game.
Hey, this is Bernie Burns, and I'm going to be covering one of the things we have to work around in Halo 3. And this particular problem is something we call the bump. And what is the bump? Well, no one can be told what the bump is. They have to see... Okay, that's the bump right there. For some reason in Halo 3, whenever you get near an object that you can interact with, like a car or a crate or any of the forage objects, and you walk up to it and it's sitting still, it makes a bump. It does this little hickety-jickety, bouncing maneuver. We don't know why. We just know that it does it. And, you'd never notice it in the game because you're running by everything and shooting and throwing grenades, but it's kind of hard for us when we're setting up a shot and a guy comes walking in and all the crates all of a sudden in the scene all go degoosh, right next to the guy. So we got to find a way around this. One of the ways that we worked with initially, this is my preferred method if I don't have a lot of people or I don't have a moving shot, is I just shoot the shot like normal, capture the bump, it's just part of the shot. And then what I do is I will go back and take a still frame from earlier in the shot when the crate was sitting still, and then I just superimpose that over the half of the frame where it is. Now, no one can cross in front of it, no one can go behind it. I even had to move Simmons out here in this shot in order to get the right kind of plate to do that. And actually here on the final shot, you can still see where the plate is because Griff's shadow, when he walks back here, will fall across. There'll be a hard line where his shadow stops. We would reframe that for an actual shot in the show. But if you do have a lot of people or you want to have a more dynamic shot, we got to have some other kind of workaround. So what we did is let's bring Church in here to help us. Now Church is going to stand on the right side of the crate, and he's going to initiate the bump. And then what will happen is after we get the bump in place, then Griff has a little bit of time before everything resets, and he can start his walk, and we get a nice clean shot. Okay, so let's try it. We're going to have Church move around here, doing this little dance. There's the bump, and then Griff starts walking, and there we go. We got a nice clean shot. We found a way to get around something that's part of the game that nobody really cares about, but that has a big effect on Machinima.
Part of innovation, though, was turning to hybrid modes of Machinima to exceed the boundaries that the medium posed on its creators. Rooster Teeth began hiring 3D animators in its 8th season to mix in blockbuster action shots to blend with the Machinima aesthetics, and by its 10th season, a full team of 3D animators were hired to make full scenes in 3D. This is a very interesting decision when considering the future of Machinima, suggesting that to improve the Machinima is to actually move away from it. The clip here shows us their use of a community member and fan of a show to create facial animations as a major part of the new season worked on characters removing their helmets, showing their faces.
Kate's been a longtime member of the site, a very popular member of the site. She's a model and is obviously great at taking pictures, doesn't need any help with that.
When we had Kate as the face model come in, we got her facial reference as well as several facial reference photos for the texture and facial structure that the program would use to build her head. We use a program called FaceGen, which is, it analyzes 2 or maybe 3 photos of a face, a front and a profile, and it just generates points off of that person's facial structure and then maps their face to the model.
Kate was, the perfect choice and the first person really that we thought of. So we've had staff members join us from the community. We've found voice actors and now even a face model for one of the most important characters in Red vs. Blue Season 9.
Each season, more 3D animation was incorporated, and the show is now entirely animated with no actual use of the video game series outside of its base aesthetics. Rooster Teeth is now apparent to many online entertainment media companies. They continue to run the Rooster Teeth website, home to many in-house web series, YouTube channels, podcasts, merchandise, and more. One characteristic that sets them apart from similar online media companies that we just witnessed is their emphasis on fandom. Employees often engage with the fandom community on their website, and there are many instances where community members are hired for new job positions.
Now that we all know what Machinima is, let's have a discussion with the class. Question 1. Who do you think Machinimas are less or not accessible to, either to create or to watch? Question 2. Do you think Machinimas can become mainstream? Why or why not? Question 3. Can you list any more potential pros and cons of the medium? Take a moment to pause and think about the questions, and we'll meet back in class shortly to discuss and answer them. Thank you for participating in our presentation on the history and form of machinima. We hope you now understand how machinimating came to be, how the process of creating one works, and why it gained and lost popularity over the last 2 decades. Goodbye and thank you for watching.